Hey guys, we're back. Welcome to another episode of If It Isn't Love podcast. I'm your host, Danisha, and over here is my co-host,
J.L. Woodson.
And we're back after a brief but seemingly long hiatus that was unplanned. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about why we've been gone for 2 weeks.
Almost 3.
Well, when this one comes out, this would have been the third one, so we only missed 2 episodes. But yeah, it's been a crazy few weeks.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we're happy to be able to record. Does that make sense? We're happy to be able to record because we've had some scary moments. And most people, I guess, our friends that follow our podcast who probably already know, well, many of them already know what is happening or why we were taking a break, but maybe not all of our listeners know. And so even though we've had an episode where we've discussed love during the time of quarantine and during a pandemic.
This was a whole new thing.
Yeah, it had not directly affected us in terms of COVID being in our home.
Mm-hmm.
But her ugly ass showed up. So we can just get right into it. So our last episode, we discussed traveling, and in that episode, we were preparing to take our first trip this year.
Road trip.
And it was a road trip. But clearly because of the pandemic, we had not done nearly as much traveling as we normally do, meaning 0. We hadn't gone anywhere. And so how this came about was one of my best friends has a dance school and a bomba school, which is an Afro-Puerto Rican genre of music. And she was going to do a workshop under her school in Dallas. And Dallas is like 3.5 hours, almost 4 hours away from here. And she had told me she was going to make my other best friend come. And so...
Breast friend.
Best. She has breasts. She is also a woman. But she's going to have my other best friend come. And we just figured, well, Dallas is only a few hours away. We could drive. And, it was an opportunity for us to get away. And so we made arrangements to go there from a Friday to Sunday. There was iterations, because originally I was like just gonna drive down for a day and come right back.
Yeah.
And then it was like, that's a lot. And then we're gonna go Saturday to Sunday. But then we're like, well, let's go Friday. And so it was our opportunity to actually try our travel vlog, which we will edit and put up at some point, right? No?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're like, we've been getting, into vlogging a lot more as a couple. And so we were like, okay, we're going to do like a travel vlog. And it's going to be something small, road trip, not, So long story short, we get there on Friday. And again, because we talked about this before, we've been very like cautious. Like we really don't go anywhere. We still have not let anyone outside of the maintenance people come into the home. If we go out to eat, we eat outdoors. We still wear our masks everywhere. So we're very, in our minds, right, very careful. So we go to the hotel. Fine. I go and I see my best friends. Again, this whole time we're still wearing masks. We go to the event, which is outdoors. And we are wearing masks and everything. I think we would be remiss to say that I think at one point we got a lot more comfortable. Specifically, like when we went to the hotel, and it was just the 4 of us, me, Jeremy, and my two best friends, hanging out. And then the day that we left, like an hour or so, 2 hours before we left, we went to go to a friend's home to celebrate with the same group, right? Same group of people. There's like 6 people we were around the entire time. I mean, we're part of it, the 6. So there's like 6 or 7 of us the entire time. And it was for I believe his mother's 75th birthday, and we went to like cut the cake for her birthday. It was like a surprise for her. She didn't know.
I didn't even know that was that until it started happening.
I had forgotten that they said they were going to do that. We had originally just gone to go say bye because we had went out to eat, and we were like, okay, we need to go home. We need to drive back to Houston. And we were like, well, we wanted to go say bye, so we're gonna like spend some time. And I remember like, oh, we're gonna cut the cake. So that's why we stayed, so they could like cut the cake. So okay. We cut the cake, and then this time it was maybe like 2 hours while we were at the house. We weren't wearing masks. We, for the majority of the time we were together, we were socially distanced, but there was probably like the last 15 or 20 minutes that we were there that we weren't. And
dancing to Motown and stuff.
Literally like 15 or 20 minutes. So all that happens. We come, we leave Dallas, and that's Sunday. So Monday, everything's fine. I remember I didn't go to work that day. I remember Monday night, you editing the video from our trip for the vlog. And I remember you saying like, I don't feel so good, but like very casually.
Like Avengers, not Spider-Man. Like, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
You really were just like, you were typing. I remember you like, here, come see this. And you were showing me like a part of, because you had me send you all the footage, and you were showing me this little part. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And you're like, man, I'm going to work out some more. You worked on it for a little bit more. And then I remember you were like, man, I don't feel so good. I'm going to lay down and I will finish this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I remember the next day I was like, I'm not going to work. I don't feel good. I had other issues not feeling good. I had lady problems. So I didn't feel good. I was like, plus I really just didn't want to go. And I got time. So I remember you waking up on Tuesday, and I was sitting on the couch, and you were like, are you okay? And I was like, oh, I don't feel so good. But I know I'm not like sick. My stomach was hurting. And I was like, how do you feel? You're like, I still don't feel really good. But you were still like yourself. You were just like, I don't feel good. And then you were like coughing a little bit, and you were just like, okay. So I remember I went and got some soup and some like Mucinex or whatever, because it's also cold and flu season.
That's the thing, like the whole portion of, like, I thought that was that because of the weather change. And I thought, like, like I was starting feeling like, the fevers and the chills and stuff like that. I'm like, I've been through this before. Like, I've had a fever before. And next thing you know, is like, I'm starting to cough up a little bit more and everything like that. But I'm over here thinking, like, literally because I wasn't necessarily prepared for the weather change, like, because it went from like 80 to like 50.
It was like 90 on Thursday, and then the next day here in Houston it was like maybe 68. But and then on Sunday or on Saturday when we were in Dallas, it was like 55 degrees and like 60. Yeah. And I know if you're like from Chicago, that's probably warm. But here, when it gets 60 degrees, it's cold. I need a coat.
I didn't think I was. Okay, so I had my hoodie and everything like that. That's about it. But like, I'm normally always hot, so it's like, it's. And then when we were outside, when we were at the event, it's still socially distanced, but I was still like, I wasn't prepared for the weather, and everything.
Because
like that.
It was really cold, and then the sun came out, and the sun comes out here, it just gets hot,
right?
All of a sudden, like, it's not like, oh, it's just a little sun, but it's cool. Nope, it's hot now, and then it got cold again.
Yeah,
and we checked the weather before we left, and we thought it was going to be warm, and it was not consistently.
Yeah,
it kept getting cold and hot right. The entire time.
So my whole thought process was that I had like, maybe I had the fever and the flu and stuff like that, which I'm like, okay, that part I can get through. And I don't think I thought the worst until, like, stuff started really taking a turn. And I'm like, okay, this is definitely not the flu.
And I kept saying, like, yes, it is. I was just like, very stay positive. Let me go get noodles. it wasn't until I got like, you were like looking at that chicken soup, like, I don't want to eat this anymore, but you're still eating it. And then you asked for noodles, and I got beef ones. But then the second time I went, or maybe it was the first time, I got beef and chicken.
Mm-hmm.
And then I brought it to you because you were laying down and you asked what kind it was because you couldn't taste it. And I was like,
right.
That's when I was like, are you sure you can't taste it? And you were like, I can't taste it. And I'm like, oh my God. At that time, because my best friends were also telling me they weren't feeling good, I was like, oh, damn. Mind you, I felt fine. Like, and I was just like, I gotta be okay. Like, so by Wednesday, that was like Wednesday. This is like 3 days. I was like, okay. So that's when I made your appointment to go get a COVID test.
Man, and I was basically hyping that thing up because like everybody kept telling me like they had to put it all the way in the nose and whatnot. And I'm looking on the on like YouTube, like, okay, this is how they're gonna do it. And then I find out I'm actually gonna have to do it myself. Yeah, I'm like, I ain't sticking that up my nose.
They're self-administered. So on Friday, when I drove him to the appointment, he was having a moment, and I was like, do you not want to go? And he was like, no. So I like looped back around, and as soon as we got home, he was like, I'm gonna make another appointment because I gotta go tomorrow. And I was just like, I'm glad you said it, because I was just gonna make you another appointment and be like, all right, you needed a day, and that's understandable, but you gotta get this done. And I also made one for myself. So that, and I made mine at the CVS because I heard you can get them quicker, because when I had done the one for Walgreens, it took, like, at the day I tried to make it, they didn't have any next day. The earliest they had was the one on Friday, which is why I thought, so when I made mine at CVS, I wanted to make sure I could do it sooner so you can come with me so you could see me do it. So just so I could be like, all right, because my thing is, I think, I'm not saying like you can't handle it. I just think like aspects of pain, there are just different things, like, you know, or like comfort levels. Like I'm like when you like swallow pills, like that kind of stuff. So I'm like, you know, so I was just trying to make you feel more comfortable.
And I appreciate that, because like as soon as I saw, like, I'm like, I hope this is the way it's gonna go at Walgreens, because like all it was just a little rim, just a little tip.
She was like, you got to put it back a little bit, but she was like, you got to hold it for like 15 seconds or something.
Oh, but we're gonna talk about the hospital version.
I guess I'm just totally different, I'm sure, when they do it to you, because they don't know like how far back you can, like, it's comfortable, and they probably don't care. They're like,
not like, okay. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way.
Okay.
So like this is the second time I'm in the hospital. And they're basically monitoring my breathing and everything like that. It's like, yeah, we need to go ahead and test you again and everything like that. Because I told them verbally, like, yeah, I tested positive for COVID. And she's like, well, we need to do our testing.
You ruined that climax. We hadn't gotten there to that part.
What?
That we never told them you tested positive.
Oh.
Well, keep going. It's out now.
Oops. But I'm like,
we better stop coughing for people think.
Right.
You just make
like, okay, as of right now, I'm negative. Yeah. As of a few days ago.
Yes, I've been negative.
I tested negative.
I've always tested negative.
Thankfully. But they basically, she put, it was like the long Q-tip. It wasn't like the little short ones we had at Walgreens or anything. So she put that thing in my nose, like all the way back. I felt my eyeball go up. And she literally laughed just like you are, because she saw my eyeballs widen, like,
you were like, whoa, what's happening?
Like, it burned the whole time. Like, and then I'm like, you want to do this to me again on the other nostril?
It was for your own good.
Hell no. But like, still, like, I just sat there. I'm like, I felt violated, but at the same time, I knew it was for a reason.
Nose banged.
Shut your mouth.
You got nose banged.
But like, it really went back there, and I was like, okay, my brain is about to explode on this one, because like, I'm like, I never had to have anything stuck that far back in my nose, all the way back to where I felt it in the back of my throat.
okay, why are you looking at me so serious? I didn't do it.
I know. But still, it was just, that part right there was scary. But like, it literally only lasted like 5 seconds. But it was like terrifying and it was painful.
Yeah.
Like everybody who said, like, I guess everybody has a different version of how they got theirs done. But that burned and it was painful. So that's all I got to say about that.
I think you were probably, also you were already very uncomfortable. So.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure like that added to the experience. But so Saturday we end up going to get our COVID test. And so at that point he had not been feeling better, but it was like off and on, because I felt like you would be like, I'm okay, but I still feel like sick. But you were still talking and we're laughing and stuff like that. And then I think by like Sunday, when you were coughing, you were saying like your mucus was red or pink. So I was like, okay, what's going on? So Monday, because we had to fill out a questionnaire, and if you're in the home with someone who is sick, and by Monday he had started getting sick, you're not supposed to go into the office. Well, this is Sunday. You really start getting sick. And so I put that questionnaire in. So I explained to HR what was going on at work. And they were like, well, you know, when you get your results back, you let us know. But until then, you know, stay home. And because we had been exposed at that point, we found out we were exposed to someone who indirectly, we were not with the person who we were told tested positive, right? But we were with the people who were with that person. So, and because those people had gotten sick, we knew that there was a good chance that at that point, a week later, like we were like, okay, there's a good chance. So I was out of work for a week because they were like, yeah, you can't come back in here until like the incubation period, which is the 2 weeks. So they're like, okay, by the time he first started really displaying symptoms on Tuesday, so they gave me 2 weeks from then to go back into the office. And right after I got off with HR, I went to go check the mailbox. And that's when you text me that you got your results back and you were positive.
Yeah.
And by the time I walked back to the house from the mailbox, and I had gotten an email with my results saying that I was negative.
Man, I'm grateful that you tested negative, but that was just trippy. Because I'm like, like, why me, Lord?
You wanted it to be me?
No, I ain't wanted it to be you. I ain't wanted it to be neither one of us.
Yes, I didn't want it to be either one of us. I also believe, theoretically, I believe this, under pressure. I think of the two of us, I'm probably the better one under pressure. So I didn't want you to be sick. But I feel like if it were me, I'd be even more nervous, because I feel like you would be so nervous. I would be worried about you worrying about me.
Yeah, I would worry about you, but I will also make sure shit is handled.
I do. Well, this one's already going to get an E, because I cussed in the first 2 minutes.
Okay. But I think like I would be able to handle like everything, like making sure like, okay, we need to go to the hospital, we need to do this.
I absolutely believe you.
But I will definitely be like, if I don't have hair now, I wouldn't like, it's like I definitely would have worried.
You lose your hair follicles.
Hey, it'll make life a little bit more. Never mind. Anyway.
You're hilarious.
But yeah, I think the way things were handled, as far as like how it went with us, I'm grateful that you are here.
I mean, yeah.
Because like, one, I wouldn't want to do that by myself.
Yeah.
I know that sounds selfish, but at the same time, it's like, anyway. But I don't think it would have been any better. Like, I don't think, like, as far as like, how am I supposed? Okay, so the fact that you were here, I think it went a whole lot smoother. It like, one, going to the hospital, going to go get my test and everything like that. Gratefully that you weren't infected or anything, and I feel like if I was on my own, it would have been worse.
Yeah, it really made me have a better appreciation, or not. I don't know if appreciation is the right word, a respect for people who have to do it by themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was hard. So kind of not fast forward, because this is what happened next. So that Monday,
Dun, dun, dun.
he got really sick that evening. And so I was like, do you want to go to the emergency room? He's like, yeah. Now, I had never been to the hospital here outside of my doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where you go for that. And it's really weird because in Chicago, I'm like, you go to the county, you
Mm-hmm.
go to Mount Sinai, you go to Rush. Like, it's like, that's where you go. And like here, I'm like, and there are so many standalone emergency rooms here and urgent care that I just don't know where you go. And so I found
it's different.
It is. It is definitely different. And then we think about insurance issues. So I'm like, where can you go that won't turn you around, but also won't be a hellish place to go? So I'm trying to frantically Google and find out and put clothes on. And then I see the Bentab hospital, and it's a community hospital, but they have so many hospitals have like a 1 rating. I was just like, I will stick a straw in your trachea and do it myself before I let you go to a hospital that has a 1 rating. And I get people are stupid and they'll say like, oh, they didn't bring me my soup on time, so 1.
Like, I ain't had no socks or nothing.
Yeah, I get it, but also it makes me nervous when like people are saying like, I waited for 7 hours and it's COVID. And so, and yeah, you'll wait. Because if you're not gushing blood out of your forehead, they're probably, gonna make you wait.
On top of that, they have other patients like probably with the same symptoms or even worse and everything like that. So it's like, I think that was the part that I went in there understanding. Like, granted, I wasn't feeling great at all. I was ready to swing on somebody, but for the most part, it was like, okay, calm down, sit down somewhere. You ain't going nowhere. Let them do what they do.
Right. And so that part for me was nerve-wracking, because when you drop the person off because of COVID, even if he wasn't a COVID patient, because of COVID, visitors cannot go in with the person. So only the sick person can go into the emergency room. And I know a few times I have gone to the emergency room with friends or family members when they've been sick. I've been able to go into the hospital and wait. Like, I could not walk in the building. Like, couldn't go past the front desk.
Right.
So that's hard. Also because I think of the two of us, I'm the more forceful one. And so, especially when you're ill, I didn't want somebody taking advantage of you and trying to like just be like, well, I feel like me in there would be like, no, he needs somebody now, and I ain't playing with y'all. But I can't do that. And it's like, how you gonna hate from outside the club? That's how I felt. Like, I can't do anything outside the club. So that was really nerve-wracking. And I feel like there's no nice way to say this, but there is a large homeless population in Houston, and probably every large city, but like they were in parks. And so this hospital is like it's in the middle of Herman Park. And so at night I'm by myself,
right?
And there's like a lot of people, and it's so weird because the parking garage, Houston, there's no sidewalks, so you like run through the grass to get to the parking garage, but the emergency entrance is over here. Luckily, where I sat next to the emergency room, there was a police car, which is why I sat there. And then there were like the nurses and things that were coming out when they were waiting for the little bus to take them to like wherever they park and things like that. And there were a few other families. The later it got and you were still there and I was outside, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the car. I went to the car.
This was the first time, right?
Yes. Because my phone was dying. So I went to the car. And by this time it's like midnight. I'm sleepy. So I was like, I'm going to sit in the car for a minute. By 1 o'clock, I probably like falling asleep. But I was like texting you to check in on how you were doing. So, long story short, by the time, I remember at one point, I guess when your reception started working, you weren't responding, and I had nodded off. It had been like 45 minutes, and you had not responded. And I got out of the car, and I'm like running back, because I'm like, so I told the guy, like, hey, sir, the security guy, he's like, well, he's back there. And I was like, I literally was about to cry, and my phone went off. You were using Facebook Messenger, and you were like, I don't know, my iMessage started working so casually. And I was like, meanwhile, I'm about to lose my shit.
Well, granted, like, it is a hospital. So my service was not working at all. Like, when I went back, it was working when I was getting my EKG or ECG or something like that. Yeah, that thing. And it was working because I guess I was like closer to the front.
Yeah.
And so when they took me back, That's when I had no bars. And so I tried to connect, like it's public Wi-Fi. So it's like, hit or miss and everything like that. So I couldn't FaceTime because like it wasn't working. I couldn't send iMessages because like Wi-Fi was just a little iffy. So I'm like, wait a minute. I have all these dogs. I have WhatsApp. I have Messenger. I have Instagram. I have something on here where I can communicate. And that's when it clicked for me. I'm like, okay, I can send her a message on Messenger.
Yeah, because I was really close to, we gonna have somebody in the hospital or somebody in jail, because I was about to get crunk. They were about to see West Side Chicago all up and through Bental Hospital.
Oh, Lord.
But fortunately, literally, as soon as I went outside to collect my thoughts, and like I was about to cry, and I was like, but once I finish crying, I'm about to go in here and get crunk. You messaged me, I'm like, look at God. God was like, let me not send this girl to jail while he's in the hospital. But they ended up releasing you that night. That morning, because it was like 4:15 when they released you. I had gotten back to the car. By the time we got home, it was almost like 5.
It was almost daylight.
Yeah, and they prescribed Tylenol because we haven't taken Advil. You haven't taken Advil. Aleve. And there's no acetaminophen in it, which is a fever reducer. And that's why we had left Monday, because your fever had spiked to 103. That's why we went to the emergency room, because his fever had spiked. And I not even seen the thermometer turn red. I was like, that's what happens when you have a fever. It was like red. I'm like, and it was red. And I was like, well, that's probably not good. And
just disrespectful.
You were really hot. So that's why we went. So we thought like, okay, because they were like, yes, you have COVID. This is what's happening. But, everything, like they were like, at first they didn't like your oxygen or whatever. But they're like, okay, your levels still look well enough where you can recover at home. And then as the day went on, I just feel like those days went on, you just got worse. And then by like Wednesday, you didn't want to eat.
It's not.
And that's when I was nervous.
I couldn't eat. Like, it's like I didn't have an appetite. I didn't want to eat anything. It wasn't because like I felt like I was going to like, vomit or anything like that. Like I literally had no energy, or I didn't want anything.
I know you just like, you were like, I don't want to eat. And I'm like, just trying to talk to you, like saying, I understand you don't want to eat. You also have to eat because it is how human bodies work. You can't get better if you are not eating. And I went and got the Gatorade. I drank more Gatorades, but I'm just like, you have to eat. And so that's when I started getting nervous. I'm like, you got to eat. And we fast forward to Friday. And you were like, that was the first time you said you were feeling worse. Because at first you were like, I'm not feeling worse. I'm just not feeling better. And then like Friday, you were like, you feel worse. And you went to go. And that's when you found out you got your results. He was making a follow-up appointment, right? And that's when you found out you had COVID-related pneumonia.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fudge is that? I'm trying to reduce the cursing.
I mean, it was okay. So here's some key factors to know. Like, I'm really sick. Now I know that when I don't have an appetite, or if I actually say I need to go to the hospital, because I hate going to the hospital.
I know, because I kept asking you and you were like, no.
Like, I really never like going to the hospital. And it's not because of insurance or anything like that. It's because I just don't like hospitals.
Oh, I hate hospitals. I'd rather me be in than someone else.
Yeah. Because
I don't like worrying and waiting to see what is happening.
Right. So when it wasn't until I started coughing up stuff and everything like that, like mucus, but it was starting to turn more red, and like first it was just pink, then it just started turning red, and I'm like, okay, I ain't never dealt with this before. This is new. And then also like my breathing really was starting to get staggered. Like I really couldn't breathe. Yeah. Like it felt like every single time I tried to take a breath in, like one, I was coughing, but also I couldn't even breathe deep. Yeah. And so that's when like I'm like, okay, I probably should definitely go to the hospital so I'm not just out here because I did start noticing like when I would start trying to go to sleep and everything like that, like I would basically wake up gasping for air. Yeah.
Well, what got me is you laid on the floor to lay down and you started talking in your sleep. Like, and then when you were talking about you're hallucinating, I was like, well, yeah, because I saw you were like just talking, but like mumbling and trying to breathe while you were sleeping. And I was like, okay, that makes me nervous. So then when you got up and you were like, yes, I'm like, okay. I mean, I had already stayed dressed at this point. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, yep, I'm ready to go. I didn't take my clothes off because I just like, something is not right. And I remember because that's the day I had gotten my nails done. And when you told me you had COVID related pneumonia, I was like, well, I'm not going to even finish the rest of my stuff today because I need to go home just to look at you, I guess, because there's not much I could do. So I just came home to look at you. And we went to the hospital
Mm-hmm.
and I dropped you off in the emergency room. And then I was like, well, rather than me go to the parking lot and try to figure out, I found a gas station not too far. So I sat in that parking lot and I was calling my sister and I was talking to her. And that's when I started kind of like getting emotional because I was just like, I don't know, it's when you feel kind of helpless, like, what am I supposed to
Mm-hmm.
do? And then at that point, I think it was maybe 2 hours in when you told me they were going to keep you overnight.
Yeah.
And that, like,
Well, okay. Up until like, okay, I'm grateful for that hospital because of the fact, like, one, like, even though it was kind of a long wait, I felt like they got through a lot of stuff very quickly, considering like there was a lot of people in that emergency room. So they didn't even do the EKG. They didn't even do it at that time. Like, they just sat me down, like, because they didn't even have any rooms. So that's why I'm like, okay, like, they had to sit me in there because like everybody was basically in a room or anything like that. So finally the doctor saw me and they did some more chest x-rays and everything. Like, they started poking and prodding and everything like that. I'm like, yo, this is when I really thought, like, like, okay, it's serious, definitely serious, where they're saying like my breathing is not where it should be because, like, I guess like when you're my cousin knows this. She's been talking to me in like hospital terms like the whole time and whatnot. But like my oxygen level wasn't good, my pulse, my heart rate and everything like that was not where it should be. So they started doing more chest x-rays, they started doing more tests and everything like that, taking more blood and everything. I'm like, soon I ain't gonna have none. And y'all just gonna leave me out here dry. Anyway. No, they took a lot of blood, like a lot of vials of blood and everything like that. And it was just like, I'm like, okay, what y'all need all that for? But I trust you. But so they took me to another room where the doctor, or I think it was either the doctor or the nurse,
as long as it ain't gender, it could be any person with a degree.
Well, that was the thing because I was trying to pay attention to the color code on the wall. Like, they had the white coat, but nobody wore a white coat. They had the pink, I mean not pink, the purple, and then they had another color. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but okay. So they put me on steroids at that time, and then they started I forgot what else they it was steroids, and then they put some more, they put something else in me, but
an IV saline solution.
Yeah, that stuff. And also because like they said my kidney function was not where it should be as well. I'm like, okay, it's possibly because I'm dehydrated, because like as much as you keep getting on me about drinking water and everything like that, I couldn't like one. Every single time I was drinking it, I felt like I was just gonna just spit it right back out. Like, I just needed something to like wet my lips or something like that. But that's about it. But so now it's like I've been drinking water like crazy. And even while I was in there, like I was always like, they had like the big Sonic slushy cup version and everything like that. None but water.
Yeah. And they got soft ice. Hospital ice is good.
I couldn't even really drink cold water like that. It wasn't fun. But yeah. So when they started running down everything, like what was going on and what was wrong, like all the symptoms that I had, like at that point my fever was gone. I was fine, like with my body temperature and everything like that. Even though like every now and then it would spike and then go back down, and it would spike and it would go back down. But it was mostly my breathing that they had concerns with, which like apparently like when you go through this stuff, the protection around your lungs and everything like that, like all that stuff is gone. So there's nothing protecting your lungs or anything like that. And it was just, that was the hard part, really trying to focus on breathing and also trying to get rest while trying to breathe, because like you can't lay a certain way, or you're just trying to find a way to get comfortable. You're trying to figure out how you can how basically you can manage those symptoms while trying to actually get rest.
Yeah. So you're in the hospital. I come home. Can't sleep in the bed now. And it's so weird because I was telling someone, it's so weird. I've spent most of my life, almost 34 years, and at least 33 of those, I mean, outside, I lived at home, but like sleeping by myself. Sleeping in my own bed by myself. And like one night, and it was just like, it was so weird to just like not be, or like to even though you were in the house, like to and not just sleep by myself, because I could go like go somewhere by myself, but just like being in the house and you're not here, and also for you to not be somewhere where I feel like, well, I know he's safe, or whatever the case is. So Saturday comes. I think you needed your phone charger on Saturday, so I brought you your phone charger, and then Sunday you needed to change
my Baha'i prayer book and my note and stuff. I was like, oh man, come on now.
Yeah, I don't know. And then you were projected to be discharged on Tuesday, but you were actually discharged on Monday. I mean, clearly he's here, so everything worked out. So, and I've just seen like so today's Sunday, even though this doesn't come out till Wednesday, and then like just the progress you've made. It's crazy to think that this time last week you were in the hospital, like hooked up to a tube. And let me tell you,
what?
I have never been so afraid in my life. I was so scared when you were in the hospital. And it was interesting listening to your mom talk about, faith today, and like how she was saying, God, your will, not mine. I was very churchy at one point in my life, and I grew up and I went to school ministry and all that. And so I've learned a lot of that, like, not my will, Lord, but yours. And I was not there. I told God, I said, he can't go anywhere. I need him. So if your will is for him to not be here, my will. And I know that sounds blasphemous, but I was like, my will. I said, what I want. I said, this is what I want. And I was like, you said that I don't want him to be, I don't want an example. I am tired of things not killing me, making me stronger. I don't want none of that. Just make him better. The end. Thank you, Lord. Big G, JC, my homies. Make that happen. I was literally terrified, and then like trying to stay in communication with your mom. But I also felt like it just made me be in a position where I had to like just be strong. And like when you were like FaceTime and you had the thing up, I try not to cry because I don't want you to feel bad, and I don't want you to be worried about me being home. So I was just like,
I was still gonna worry,
but I don't want you to see me like crying. I would at least want you to pretend like I was handling it better than I was. And then I was like trying to like not have a panic attack the whole time. So it really was not until you told me like, oh, they're gonna release me today that I like allowed myself to just be like, I mean, I cried before, but I really just allowed myself to like like ugly cry, because I was just like, I felt like I could breathe. Like I could just, okay. Because I felt like I was holding my breath for a few days and trying to stay busy and, you know, trying to, you know, keep your mom, like keep her head focused, but also like, you know, deal with people who were checking in on me, but also not telling everybody, because I didn't want like 50 million phone calls every day. At one point I like put my phone on like do not disturb. So I'm like, I just need like an hour where I'm gonna watch some I Love Lucy, and I just need people to not talk to me. But then I took it off do not disturb like after like 5 minutes, because I forgot about you, and I'm like, well, if you call, I want to see it. But I really was ignoring. But that's when I figured I actually put it back on do not disturb, because you and my sister are the two people favorites. Who can so y'all can still message me. But I didn't know if that would work the same for like Facebook Messenger and all of that. So yeah, because you couldn't actually just text me the whole time. So, but I did stop responding to people for a minute, because I was just like, I just need some time. But it was a really scary moment. Let me tell you, if you get sick like that again, I'll kill you.
Okay, Ike Turner.
I don't want to. It's crazy. Like, you know, I knew I loved you before you went to the hospital, but I like you were there, and I was like, wow, I really love this fool, because I am so freaking nervous and concerned, and just like, yeah. So it was crazy, and now I don't know, because I feel like I know that people are saying there's the likelihood of you catching it again once you have it is almost null and void. And I don't think that that's reason to get crazy or anything like that. But I also don't think it's reason to like live in fear, because when, like I said from the beginning, I think that until that moment, we had a very brief moment where we let our guard down because we got comfortable. But up until that moment, we have been very careful. And I do think that people can live some semblance. Me and words. I think that people can live some sort of normalcy in terms of interacting with other people. If you're wearing a mask and you keep your distance and all that kind of thing. So I don't think people have to live under a rock, especially because we're living in a world that currently is not allowing us to survive if you're not leaving your house. For the most part, most people have to still leave their house somewhat, right? Most people still have to leave their house to go to work. Some people can work from home, and even like me, who works partially from home, I still have to go to an office some days a week if I want my checks. Yeah. So right, I don't have to go, but if I want to go get these checks, then I gotta go. So I will say that, but also it's just making me very hyper aware, I think, of people who are clearly not adhering to any social distancing or mask, not because I want to be judgmental or critical. And it does make you feel a kind of way, because people going to pool parties in Atlanta where you get the pool in the middle of the club, and all the people coming back fine. And we trying to sing happy birthday to a 75-year-old and you ended up in the hospital. And it's like, it's crazy. And I know that there is and as we can see, because there were probably no two people who were as close as us, even like in a physical capacity.
Like we were
living together, hugged up, we sleep in the same bed, everything. And you were hospitalized, and I never contracted it. So, and still two people who, I mean, we eat mostly the same thing. You've like gotten much healthier in the last year. So you've like lost a lot of weight. Even before this, you lost more weight, but lost a lot of weight. All the other kind of stuff. And it's still, and no chronic illnesses. So we still have very drastically different outcomes. And so it just makes me, and I'm sure you feel this even more so because it actually happened to you. I just really want people to be careful.
Man, that whole time, like, so when I was able to actually get online and like look at Instagram and everything like that, I'm seeing people on my Instagram stories, like just one in clubs, no mask, popping bottles, doing all sorts and kinds of stuff. Like the only time I saw people actually really being socially distanced was when they was voting. And I think for the most part, I'm like, yo, if y'all just really would just sit y'all behinds down somewhere, like this, like all the stuff that we went through, because I'm not saying like you didn't go through this with me, but all the stuff we went through just in these past 2-3 weeks, would like all that stuff that's happening out there is not worth it.
No,
like
it's not worth it.
It's not worth it at all. Because like the fact that I'm able to just now being able to breathe that normal, I don't know what that spirometer thing measures, but like apparently like there's 0, there's 500, and then there's like 5,000. I wasn't even able to breathe in at 500, which is like the lowest. And it took a while for me to even get back to that point. So I'm like, one, also, if you are experiencing any symptoms, like I don't care if it's fever, I don't care if it's a little cough. Even every time she like has her little cough, I'm looking at her because I'm like, man,
I don't have it. I tested. I'm
I
fine.
know you don't have
and
it,
even
but
if
still,
I had it, like later, it's 3 weeks later.
I'm still gonna worry because it's like
I don't want you to stare me down every time I cough because I cough. It's also that's the hard part because it's also cold and flu season. You know, and the weather has been crazy here because it literally went from like I think I did something on Instagram like last week where it was like 50 degrees, and then it was like 90 yesterday, and it's back in the 80s today.
It's crazy. Like I just think like there's a way to be responsible, but also to have fun and everything like that. Like, don't get me wrong, like I don't want to I never like to limit what we can do, but at this point I'm like, yo, like I'd rather just sit my behind down somewhere and just like, yo, if y'all want to have at it, y'all have at it. But like I don't know. I just think like the biggest takeaway from this is for me is like you never really understand how people are in your corner until like this type of stuff tests you. Like I am grateful for you. I am absolutely grateful for you. I can't imagine what it would be like to do, like to have somebody that cares, like okay, come on now. All right,
you better not get emotional.
Shut your behind up. Shut your behind up, please, man. Shit. Okay, so
okay, no, I can't. Don't
but
get emotional.
Okay, there's a lot of stuff that I like, even when I was in the hospital, like I thought could have went a different way and everything like that. Like it could have went bad, and sure enough, you were there. Like I didn't even ask for my Baha'i prayer book, but you brought it, and it had my note in it. There's like a lot of stuff that I'm grateful for you for being here for, and I was already grateful you were in my life, but okay, I can't talk, but you know what I'm trying to say, but they mean things, but and then even after I got out of the hospital, like just like your attention to like detail and like caring for me and everything like that, like I know for a fact, like of course I would do the same for you and everything like that. But it's just like seeing you in action, or just hearing my mom talk about you whenever we were able to talk on the phone. She's like, yeah, but she on it. I'm like, she definitely is. Because like my mom pays attention to that type of stuff. And like even still, like this is like my mom wasn't bombarding me with phone calls and everything like that. Like my cousin said that she was talking to you and everything like that. But like I'm just grateful, like I said, that you were there. I'm grateful that you are here, and I'm grateful even before all this stuff happened, that you are in my life. And I'm also going to take this time out to thank my cousin, Erica, because of the fact, like I didn't know what to ask while I was in the hospital, but she does her thing. She works for University of Chicago Hospital and everything like that. She knew what to ask, she knew what to ask as far as like my like I didn't know what it meant because it was like hospital terms and everything. I'm like, you speaking big words at me, but she was able to like you need to ask the doctor for this, you need to ask the doctor, or what's your pulse ox and all that stuff like that. I'm like, what does that mean? Is that on the monitor? Is there a glossary that I can use or something like that? Because you really speaking big words at me right now. But like, she was always checking on me. She was always like basically like every few minutes, like it was like a text message or something like that. Like sometimes I wasn't able to respond because I was trying to get sleep, but also like women are really the shit. Like y'all was really on it.
Let me tell you. And Black and Mexican women, because you're your cousin Mexican, but
right.
You know, we meet. Let me tell you, this world. And as we're speaking, we found out we have a new president, elect President Joey B. And Kamala Harris, first Black woman, first Jamaican Indian woman vice president in the history of our country. And Black women, we are the shit.
Stacey Abrams.
Don't y'all forget how great Black women are. In case you be wondering, like, I wonder if Black... Yes, we are. We're awesome.
Anybody who says different, y'all fool.
You're
foolish.
Crazy. Black. But also, I love you. And so, I mean, there was... You know I'm a fixer, too. Like, that's just who I am. I'm a fixer. So I'm just like, something's wrong. Let's fix it. Now. So I'm that person. So you know me, I don't like to like spend a lot of time thinking and like, everyone just do like, let's just fix this. And so I am personally just very grateful that you're better and that you're continuing to get better every day, that we're able to actually sit here and do this now. You're feeling well enough to do that and kind of get into our normal routine. And for me, the only thing is really to encourage people to social distance. Encouraging people to wear your mask. Just wear your mask. There's tons of pretty ones out there. You can get them from all kinds of places. You can support a Black business by buying one from someone. Walmart, Walgreens, all the walls. Just wear a goddamn mask.
Oh, we definitely getting an E on this one.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. But, all the time. So wear a mask, y'all, around whoever. Also because even though we were around people who had been taking precautions like us, literally in the few minutes that we weren't with them, it all just kind of, and it's not to blame them, clearly, no, and not even to blame the other person, like, because you just don't know, and that is the point. The point is, you don't know.
Yeah.
And everybody, when we're together, we're fine. And it was like, I'm fine, and then the next day, I am not fine. And,
right.
Well, for them, and even my best friends who have now recovered, they tested negative and all that kind of stuff. But when they were sick and like feeling congested and fatigued, and they both lost their sense of smell and taste for a little while, and it was going on and off, and just that whole thing, like you're fine and then you're not. And so
literally, even
me, when I tested negative, I was just kind of like nervous. I'm like, okay, am I doing stuff like, oh, do I need to check? But I mean, the more time passed and I never got really sick. And when I tested negative, I was like, okay, well, I'm fine. And probably is like the weather change that's like giving me a cough and stuff like that, which to me that makes sense because that's how it always is. If I'm in the air conditioner for too long, I'll start sneezing and coughing and stuff. Okay. You know, because I hate being cold. So I hate being cold, and it really affects my system. So
the only other thing that I have to say is thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And thank you to all of our friends.
Yes.
Thank you for all your prayers. Thank you for being patient and everything, because I know y'all was like a little weird at the fact that like y'all found out the day I got discharged. But I'm grateful that, you know.
So my phone started going off. I'm like, oh, he's trying to blow up the internet.
Anyway, I wasn't trying to do anything. I'm like, okay, now that I have the energy to say something, I will say something.
Yeah. And it wasn't my business to tell. I feel like, you know, I'm not going to tell people when you're in the hospital. Like,
yeah. I think that was the other reason why I didn't want to say anything is because, one, I didn't want 1,000,001 calls or text messages, and I didn't want your phone to be bombarded. I told who basically were people who were close to me, like family, very close friends and everything like that. But I just wanted to say thank you to all you guys for your prayers and everything like that and well wishes. And thank you to my family and thank you to you, because, man.
You're welcome, babe.
Okay.
I'd like to keep you a little longer. COVID tried. See, COVID. If anybody gonna take them out, it's gonna be me. Just play. Cut that part out.
Anyway,
we're gonna cut that part out.
I'm negative. Yeah, I'm negative.
No,
man.
but that's how you look at me when I call. Literally, I wanted to fight you last night. I was like, if you look at me one time, we gonna fight. That's just gonna be it.
Indeed. Okay.
Thank you guys for joining us for, is this episode 5? Episode 5 of If It Isn't Love podcast. We appreciate you guys. Next week, we're going to be talking about something a little lighter. We're going to find something funny to talk about, not coronavirus. You guys have a great week. Be in love. Be in light.
Stay safe.
Wear your mask. We'll see y'all later. Bye.
It's all because of you.